How do you use trusts for asset protection? As CEO of a law firm specializing in asset protection, I've set up thousands of trusts, and I've seen firsthand how these trusts can protect your money and, most importantly, your peace of mind from lawsuits, creditors, and even divorce. So today, we're going back to the basics. Whether you're a business owner, a high net worth individual, or just somebody who wants to protect what you've worked so hard for, this video is for you. So we're diving into how to use trusts for asset protection for beginners. And by the end of this video, you'll understand what trusts are, why they're so effective, and how you can use them to shield your assets. So grab a notebook, sit back, and let's get started. And if you find this information valuable, subscribe so we can see each other again. Let's dive in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this video down into 5 parts. First, what is a trust? I hope you like my writing. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a trust? A trust is a legal arrangement where one party, known as the grantor, and that's you, transfers assets to a second party, the trustee, who holds and manages those assets for the benefit of a third party. And that's the beneficiary, which in the right jurisdiction can also be you. So think of it as a safety box for your wealth. You take your wealth and you put it in, and the box is set up to ensure those assets are used according to your wishes. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Trusts aren't just for the ultra wealthy. They're for anyone who wants to protect their assets from potential threats like lawsuits, creditors, or even family disputes. For example, let's say you're a doctor and you could be at risk of a malpractice lawsuit. Or maybe you own another type of business facing potential liability claims. A trust can act as a shield, separating your personal assets from your professional ones. But not all trusts are created equal. Some are revocable, meaning you can change or dissolve them during your lifetime. Others are irrevocable, meaning once you set them up, it's more of a challenge for the court to force you to make changes. So the right trust can stop the courts from handing your trust assets over to your opponent. Now we'll get into the different types of trusts in a moment, but first let's talk about why you'd want to use a trust for asset protection. Imagine this. You've built a successful business, you've accumulated significant wealth, but one day, boom, you're hit with a lawsuit. Maybe it's a disgruntled employee, a business partner, or even a customer. Without proper protection, your assets, your home, your savings account, your investments could be at risk. And this is where a trust comes in. By transferring your assets into a trust, you've effectively separated them from your personal ownership. This means that if somebody sues you, they can't touch the assets held in the trust when it's set up properly and it's in the right jurisdiction. It's like putting a force field around your wealth. Now, with an asset protection trust, we can go 2 ways. We can set up a domestic trust that is vulnerable to local courts, or we can set up an offshore trust that's beyond their reach. I mean, in California, if a judge tells a Nevada trustee to either hand over your money in the trust or hand over his own money, or tells the trustee to turn over your money or go to jail for contempt, you know what that decision will be. Now, the offshore company law firm that we use doesn't have that same inherent weakness. For example, the Cook Islands don't recognize foreign judgments, so local court orders will fall on deaf ears. And our firm has set up more Cook Islands trusts than any firm in the world. I've been doing it for about 30 years. So let me give you a real life example. One of our clients, a successful real estate developer, was facing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. And fortunately, we had set up a Cook Islands trust years earlier. And when the lawsuit hit, the plaintiffs couldn't touch the assets in the trust. Why? Because the trust was structured in a way that made it nearly impossible for creditors to access. So here's another scenario. Divorce. Let's say you're going through a divorce. Your spouse is entitled to a portion of your assets. If those assets are held in a properly structured trust, they can be protected from the division of your assets. Now here's the key. Not all trusts offer the same level of protection. So that's why it's really crucial, super important, to work with an experienced law firm like our own, which understands the nuances of asset protection. At Lawyers Limited, we specialize in creating trusts that are bulletproof. And when it comes to Cook Islands trusts, we're the global leaders. Now, speaking of Cook Islands trusts, let's talk about why they're the gold standard of asset protection. The power of the Cook Islands Trust. Cook Islands trusts are in a league of their own. Why? Because the Cook Islands has some of the strongest asset protection laws in the world. Now, there are other jurisdictions we like too, like Belize and Nevis, but Cook Islands stands out as number one. So here's how it works. When you set up a Cook Islands trust, your assets are held in an offshore jurisdiction that doesn't recognize foreign court orders. This means that even if a creditor wins a judgment against you in, let's say, the US, if that's where you live, they won't be able to enforce it in the Cook Islands. We have clients globally, by the way, and this works all around the world. But here's the real kicker, because we take it a step further. We place a Cook Islands LLC inside of a Cook Islands trust, and we make you the initial manager of the LLC. So this gives you control over your assets while still providing unparalleled protection. And if you ever come under legal attack, our licensed bonded trustee law firm can step in to protect you. So, for example, if the judge says, I order you to turn over that money, our law firm in the Cook Islands can step in, and your local court doesn't have jurisdiction over our law firm trustee in the Cook Islands. So let me share a quick story. A few years ago, a client of mine was sued for $10 million. The plaintiffs thought they had a slam dunk case, but because my client had a Cook Islands trust, the lawsuit really went nowhere. The plaintiffs spent years trying to break the trust, but they couldn't. And in the end, they walked away with nothing. So you might be wondering, how do I set up a trust like this? And this brings us to our next section, creating a trust. Now, here's the thing. In a lawsuit, you're going to war. It's not just you presenting your case. It's the other side using legal arguments to poke holes in your armor. You could go to battle with a sharp stick or with a heat-seeking missile. Setting up a trust isn't something to cheap out on. This is possibly your entire net worth we're talking about protecting here. So it requires careful planning, professional guidance, and precise wording, as well as a deep understanding of the law. So here's how the process works. First of all, you define the purpose. So what do you want the trust to achieve? Is it to protect your assets from lawsuits, provide for your children? The purpose will guide the structure of the trust. So next, you want to choose the right type of trust. As I mentioned earlier, there are different types of trusts. Revocable living trusts offer flexibility, but they don't provide protection like irrevocable asset protection trusts do. Cook Islands, on the other hand, are specifically designed for asset protection. Next, name the trustee. And when we set up an asset protection trust for a client, we utilize licensed bonded trustees with track records. As I've said in other videos, the older I get, the less I listen to what people say and the more I watch what they do. Our personnel in the law firm trustee office in the Cook Islands have been working with us for nearly 30 years. Next, identify the beneficiaries. Who will benefit from the trust? This could be you initially and your spouse, your children when you pass away, or even a charity. So when we set up a trust, you fill out a form and you tell us who you want to receive your assets after your passing. Next, you'll fund the trust. A trust is just an empty shell until you transfer assets into it. And this could include your investments, like a stock market portfolio. We also include other structures to protect real estate, business interests, and even intellectual property. And if you look up the 50 safest banks in the world, only one is in the US, and it's number 44 on the list. So there are a lot safer banks outside the US than inside. Next, provide clear instructions. The trust document should outline how the assets are to be managed and distributed, and we have wording in our trust to protect the assets and comply with the law, and also handle your assets the way you want them to be handled. So that's why you want to work with a professional that handles every step of the process, ensuring that your trust is tailored to your unique needs and goals so that you can rest easy knowing that your assets are in the safest hands possible. Okay, finally, next steps. By now, you should have a solid understanding of how trust can protect your assets. But here's the thing. Knowledge is only powerful when you take action. Knowing this isn't going to help, just like knowing that you should wear your seatbelt doesn't help unless you actually put it on when you get into a car wreck. If you're serious about safeguarding your wealth, the next step is to consult with a qualified asset protection attorney or consultant. And by the way, if you do have over $500,000 to protect, we offer free consultations to help you determine if a trust is right for you. Just visit assetprotectionplanners.com and fill out a free consultation form. So whether you're a business owner, a professional, or simply someone who wants to protect their family's future, we're here to help. And remember, when it comes to asset protection, timing is everything. So the best time to set up a trust is before you need it. So don't wait until you're facing a lawsuit or creditor claim. We can still protect you, but it limits our options. So be proactive and give yourself the peace of mind that comes with knowing that your assets are secure. So if you're ready to take the next step, reach out. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel. And together we can build a future that's not only prosperous, but also protected. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.